Greetings once again, Musto0063 here with some more Mega Man 6. And for my penultimate Robot Master, I'm going to be taking on the Master of Spear, Yamato Man. And as if you couldn't tell from the name, the giant background of what is surely Mount Fuji tells us that we've landed in Japan. And the first enemy type is the Shigaraki. They shoot green balls at you, sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, and I'm awesome at dodging them. Like I said, awesome. So already a branching path, and because I never usually go this way, I'm going to show off the lower route first, and for that we need to break out Power Mega Man. So we come up against our first Benkei. When they're twirling their sticks, you can't hit them from the front, so just be patient and wait for them to hurl the stick at you before getting in your shots. Another block in the way, so Power Mega Man is needed once again. And what with this fairly nothing screen, we've reached a sub-boss. Gaman and Gamadeu. They fire lasers, but they're not especially quick, so you can easily jump over them. And they also hurl a couple of bombs at you, but there's usually enough time to see where they're going to land, and plenty of margin for error I find, so once again easy enough to avoid. They supposedly have less health than a Squidon, so in comparison to the Gorilla Tanks in Plant Man stage, much less intimidating. Now it's not as if I needed it, so I don't know why I stopped to get it, but there's a prize of an E-Tank for taking the lower path. And here in fact is where we join up with the upper path. And I will show that off a little later. More Shigaraki, and the second one's rather annoyingly positioned, if I may say so. I don't even bother fighting it this time around. And that's because we already have another path choice to make. This choice will actually determine whether you fight the real or fake Robot Master. And of course, it's the path that requires you to use a rush adapter that's the one we want to take. So we actually still need the jet adapter to clear this screen, as the spike pit is too low to jump, given the low ceiling. And a Benkei at the top of the ladder. It's a little irritatingly positioned, because you have to keep descending the ladder to get out of the way of the spinning sticks. Well, that or have some phenomenally good timing in jumping over them. So one last use of the jet adapter. Unfortunately this jump is not quite makeable otherwise. And for the home stretch, we have spinning platforms we saw in Night Stage, and the superbly named spring-faced bombs to deal with. When you shoot the spring, its face detaches and explodes. Hence its rather glorious name. And that brings us to the Robot Master, Yamato, whatever. So there is a sense of predictability about Yamato, but don't for a second think that means he's a pushover. He has two attacks, and he never does a single attack more than twice in succession. The first is to fire the tip of his spear horizontally at you, and you need to jump over this. It gets stuck in the wall, and when Yamato goes to retrieve it, you need to jump over him. His other attack is to jump high in the air and fire 3 spears diagonally down at you, and this is by far the harder of his two moves to avoid. Sometimes you get a lot of time to see where the spears are going to fall, others you barely seem to get any time at all. And for some reason, I tend to find it particularly difficult to judge the safe spots when I have to move under Yamato as well. Nevertheless, this is actually a very fun fight, and I do enjoy it quite a bit. I get Yamato Spear, and for Mega Man it works the same way as the first of Yamato's attacks I described, so unfortunately it's not the crazy spinning 3 spear move. Oh, and I also got the beat E parts for taking out the real Robot Master. So this is actually a really fun level to try to perfect run, and as you just saw, only the Robot Master seems to be much of an issue. And that's certainly how things turned out as well. Okay, up front, I had no outtakes on the level part of the stage. What can I say? It's pretty straightforward. So that ordinarily wouldn't leave me with a lot to talk about. However, there is an alternative path to cover, since I can't use rush adapters unnecessarily. So, taking the upper path, we find a Ben cave, although this time there's plenty of room available to jump over the sticks. And like the lower path, another prize, this time a 1-up, available if you want it. New enemy type? These bugs drop bombs, so watch out. But they'll always drop the bombs a short distance in front of you, never directly on top of you, so they're actually far less threatening than they might first appear. And for that section with the pits, it's actually quite easy to get them to offload their cargo into them, further nullifying any danger. There's a really pathetic dash on here. We saw a similar incarnation before in Mega Man 5, notably in Star's stage, but here you can easily take it out before it gets a chance to do anything. So the piles have met up, and despite the need to use Jet Adapter to reach the real Yamato man, I demonstrate how to safely kill this last Shigaraki. Essentially, you need to wait until it shoots a ball quickly, because then its trajectory will take it away from the lower area to the left. Be quick about killing it though. After a certain amount of time, the ball will explode, and the Shigaraki will fire again. And if you happen to be down in the low area to the left of it, oh, guess which speed the ball's going to be fired at, more often than not. So, you've seen all this before, so as a quick filler until I reach the boss, I might as well go on record and say that Yamato's stage music is my favourite of the Robot Masters in Mega Man 6. It's just so upbeat and catchy, and I loves it. Infinitely better than Centaur's, at worst. So yes, all my outtakes came against the Robot Master. I'll save exactly how many outtakes for the actual difficulty analysis, but it wasn't that many. I can't remember exactly how I got hit each time, but suffice to say, I'd imagine that the majority were to his 3 spear attack. Touch and go for me whether I'll avoid it. I mean, I'll probably avoid it a good 80% plus at a time, but it's not a gimme dodge by any means. One thing I didn't mention before is that Yamato is quite speedy, both with his attacks and his movements, so don't get caught out by that. Hence, I try to recommend keeping as much distance from him as possible, so as to hopefully give yourself more time to react to things. But that's easier said than done, certainly when he performs his 3 spear attack and lands in the middle of the screen. So good reflexes will be required. Like I said though, I find this fight to be rather fun. But before we come to difficulty analysis, I have the last branching path to show off. And this time it's actually quite a long way before we reach the fake Robot Master. So these cannons are another new enemy type, but they're extremely predictable in terms of when and how fast they'll fire at you, so you shouldn't have any real problems with them. Unfortunately, the same can't be said of the Piranha, back from plant stage. And unfortunately, if you weren't expecting them to show up there, chances are they'll have cost you a life. A couple of propeller eyes, also back from plant stage, you'll want to lead them down to a safe, hittable position. And yet another new enemy type, Peck. They crawl along the ceiling and continually fire vertically downwards once Mega Man reaches a certain proximity to them. Not so annoying here, but one in particular in the one Robot Master stage I've yet to play most certainly is. And like the upper path, it's worth mentioning spinning wheels. Just be careful in this section, particularly around the low-hanging ceiling spikes and spike pits. One last bend cave before the boss gate, and I completely failed to appreciate the hitbox on the spinning sticks. So yeah, stay low, shoot through the wall, and jump over them. It'll likely take longer, but it's easily the safer option. And whatever you do, don't take this final jump for granted either. You really don't want to mess that one up. Another stage perfect run, and I've said it a couple of times already, but this was a fun one. And that's a nice change going into some of the latter stages, because usually I save the harder ones for last. Not with this game though. Only 20 minutes to obtain the successful run, and with only 5 outtakes, all on the Robot Master. This was actually, to date anyway, the first stage that I suffered no outtakes on the level part, so that's probably a good indicator of just how easy the level actually is. If you bother to kill it, I'd say the last Shigaraki before the second set of branching paths is the only somewhat awkwardly placed enemy, but frankly, since you're going to have to use a jet adapter to reach the real Robot Master anyway, you could just jet over it without needing to kill it. Enough said about the level. The Robot Master is where any difficulty in this stage lies, although I certainly wouldn't say that Yamato is all that difficult. Yes, he's quick, but that doesn't bother me too much. It's finding a safe spot for his 3 spear attack that's the trickiest aspect of the fight. As said, that's why I like to keep my distance from Yamato as much as possible, to give myself more time to react and adjust my positioning if necessary. Ultimately, it's a nice challenge and a fun fight. I never feel like I've been unfairly screwed over like I do on some of the other Mega Man 6 Robot Masters when they corner me. Despite it being a fun fight, by the 5th time I messed up, I think my mood had just tipped past being happy. Yes, I know it's a low number of outtakes, but it's a bit like that with Bright, a stage where all but one of my outtakes were on the Robot Master. There's that feeling of annoyance at having to go through the level again. And although appreciating it's a low number of outtakes, I've said before that I consider Robot Master failures more worthy of bumping up difficulty than simple level outtakes. So by that reasoning, and because my mood went past happy, I'm comfortable rating a Yamato not as a 1 or even a 2, but a 3 out of 10. In conclusion, the level is a cinch, but the Robot Master isn't. Although, based on the stats, I don't think I could possibly go any higher than 3. So that's 7 down, just 1 to go. Next time I'll be taking on the final Robot Master, Tomahawk Man. Can I get a clean sweep of perfect runs on another Mega Man game? You'll find out next time. Cheerio.